so late posting this setup video, guys, but February always tends to get away from me. Honestly, I have no idea where the time went. But here I am with the March setup finally done, and for my March Norse animal of the month, it's Jormungand, the world serpent. Now, Jormungand is the second of Loki's monstrous children, with the giantess Ingerbota, and is the brother to the wolf Fenrir, which was the February animal, and the goddess Hel. He was the first of his siblings to be cast out by the Allfather and into the oceans of Midgard. There he grew so large he encircled all the land and bit down on his own tail. During Ragnarok, he will reunite with his father and siblings in battling the gods. He will be slain by one stroke from Mjolnir, but in turn will drown Thor in the venom pouring from his dying jaws. Say what you want about Norse mythology, guys, but when they go in, they go in. So I will talk more about the inspiration and direction of these artworks because I'm going to make a speed drawing video quarterly where I can go through 4 of them at a time, just because of the proportions of the artworks. I can fit 4 of them basically on the screen, I feel like. So I'm just gonna do that quarterly. So definitely stay tuned to the channel to see those videos when they come out. So there's my title page, and then I'm going to move on to my calendar page. You all know the drill by now. My calendar boxes here are 7 squares high and 6 squares wide because I only need 5 rows for March. I'm going to use a dark navy blue and a light blue as my colors for this month since the artwork was monochromatic, and the light blue is going to highlight the weekend days for me. I have my main focus section and then a section for my notes. I'm going to freely admit that I don't really use my calendar page a lot, mostly because I don't do a lot of things. And then of course I'm going to mark the edge of this page with washi tape so it's easy for me to find. I folded this washi tape sticker that's on this printable over the edge of the page so I can see it when the journal is closed. You can see on the side here that I have each month marked, and that page at the very beginning is my future log. It's just easier for me to flip to a page I really need when I mark the edges of the pages by month like this. Now, somebody asked me to go into a little bit more detail about this month in review page, so I'm going to slow it down a bit and really explain how I'm setting it up and how it works. It's a pretty different way of looking at the typical habit and mood trackers, and this page is actually really helpful with managing my depression when I actually use it, so bear with me for a hot minute. So first off, I'm going to make a list of numbers along the sides of each page for each day of the month. Then I am going to outline the weekends so it's easier for me to see and find patterns. We have been hardwired to think of our time really in weeks. So even if you don't necessarily have a typical 9 to 5, you might still see patterns that cycle in weeks. Plus, this also makes this page easier for me to navigate. Next, I'm going to set up the left side of this page. This first section is going to be for exercise, which I'm trying to get better at. And then this next section is my nighttime routine. So I only have 4 things I try and do before bed, which makes this section kind of short. And then the last section on this page is a sleep tracker. Now I use 2 different types of liners when I'm drawing these lines. One is a 0.005 millimeter liner and the other is a 0.5 millimeter liner. I use the 0.5 millimeter one to separate the sections and then the 0.005 liner to separate the columns. You don't actually have to line each column, but I kept accidentally checking off the wrong thing when I didn't have those guidelines. So this makes it easier for me, but it might not be necessary for you. It's kind of time consuming, but it really does help me keep this information accurate. I like my exercise and sleep trackers on the same page because I like to make a note of how they impact each other. So if I don't exercise for an extended period of time, does that make it harder for me to sleep? most of the time I find that that does have some sort of correlation. This next page is for my morning and daytime activities. Again, this isn't a habit tracker. I'm not trying to do all of these actions every day, but it helps me see which actions or the lack of actions affect my mood and stability. So, this first section on the right page is going to be my morning routine. In an ideal day, I would be taking all of these actions every day. But I also know that trying to start too many things or habits at once does not work for me. I tend to get overwhelmed and then things fall by the wayside. So I just have them here to mark down when I do these actions. So I'm using my 0.005 millimeter liner to separate each of these actions, and then I'm going to use my 0.5 millimeter liner to separate this from my next section. This second section on the right hand page is focused on daytime actions or things I can do during my day. So, creative things and leisure activities that I like doing but don't always have the time or motivation for. The only real exception to this is my did I drink enough water action, which is more of a health thing, but it's kind of an outlier, and I do drink water during my day, so I put it in this section with everything else. My depression is a little weird, and I find that a lot of the time when it hits, it makes it really hard for me to be motivated to do things. I know logically that I will often feel better if I go and do some of these creative activities, but I tend to distract myself with social media or TV shows, which only makes me more lethargic. So, if I'm having a string of days where I'm struggling with motivation and concentration, it really helps when I can look back on this page and see the correlation. It's like proof that yes, I feel tired, but I know finding the energy to start something I will eventually enjoy will make me feel better. Then I'm going to use my 0.5 millimeter fine liner to make this next section, which is a mix of studying and professional things. So in this section, I'm going to put whether or not I did my Japanese for the day, if I worked on freelance work, or if I did job searching. I do this to remind myself that one, I work towards professional goals because it takes a lot of brain power, and I feel good when I look back and see that yes, I have done that. But I also make sure to keep track of this because, again, they do take a lot of brain power, and if I'm feeling really burnt out, this might be a cause or a way for me to say, okay, I need to take a day away from this, I need a break from this. This last section is a place for me to describe my mood. I find this a little more effective than mood trackers personally because I can be a little bit more specific. There are some days where I'm feeling listless, I have trouble focusing, I feel droopy or tired, and I think that trying to color code all of that into a typical mood tracker tends to get kind of tricky. So, if you have another way to track your mood, I would love to hear about it because I found that just writing out everything is the most effective for me personally. And the last thing I'm going to do after I get distracted making the header for this page is to highlight the 3 actions that I want to make into consistent habits. These are the things that I really want to try and do every day, but I'm going to start slow. So you see that I'm only going to highlight 3 columns because I don't want to overwhelm myself with trying to start too many things at once. I feel like developing positive habits is kind of a, slow and steady race kind of thing. You have to start small and then build up on them. This month in review page is ever evolving for me. I'm still trying to find out what works and what doesn't. I'm not at the stage where I'm consistently filling this out, but right now, this is what I have. So it might change if I find a way to track my sleep better, or if I find myself doing more exercise and need more room to document it. And that's what I love about bullet journals. They are unique to you and your needs rather than the one size fits all approach. Then, of course, I have my weeklies. They haven't changed since last month. Right now, this layout really fits my needs, so I don't feel the need to change it. My boxes for each day are 8 squares wide and 22 squares long, and the weekend boxes are 8 squares wide and 16 squares long. My main focus box is big enough for 3 or 4 things, and then I have a running task list where I can break down tasks and see what I need to do when. I'm also going to keep my gratitude log down here on the bottom right. Each day has 2 rows for me to write down a gratitude, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm terrible about filling this out, but I think that actually making a time each day to do this will help me be more consistent, which is why I've added it to my nightly routine in my monthly overview page. And that's it. This printable is, of course, available on my Etsy page, as well as a floral title page in Mood Tracker if anyone is interested in that. I think I'm going to put all of these together as a bundle for next year when I finish all the artworks. I will include the yearly setup pages and then all of these month pages in that bundle as well. And then, of course, I'll update the micro calendars and everything so it's up to date for 2024. So let me know what you think about that, and I would love to hear what your themes were for this month. I hope this helped you set up your new month pages, and I'll see you next time, guys. Stay creative.